folks, man. This is Monk, and we are back with another episode of From the Canopy Film Show. And this is the show where we talk about film by way of news, trailers, and reviews. I'm joined as always my co-host. We got Cornelius, aka Evil Corny.
Hey, what's up?
And we got Bobby Blockbuster.
Yo.
Yeah, folks. And this is a special episode. This is our year-end top 15 films of 2022 episode, where we each pick 5 different films that we want to highlight and highly recommend for you guys to check out for various reasons. We're going to just get right into it. First one I do want to mention is the film Bones and All. And this is an interesting film, man. We've got 2 genres combining. We got, kind of a young adult romance mixed in with a cannibal-based horror film, man, and it's a crazy mix-up and mix-mash of the genre. One of the things that really surprised me about it was the performance in this. This is probably, to me, one of the most well-acted films that I've seen this year, and it's crazy because it's coming from a genre that's traditionally not known for its performances or acting, and I thought they did a good job, really highly emotional, and did a great job of playing around with this vampire style hunger and thirst that these characters were experiencing, man. So I thought it was a really great highlight for 2022.
Okay, my number 5 or whatever is Deadstream. This is a Shudder original. What's the good description of this guy? He's doing a webcam show. I guess he's an influencer going to a haunted house. It might be the most fun I've had watching anything this year. It's insane. The house is actually haunted. I've seen things like this, but it wasn't as adventurous because we had a movie called Dashcam that was released earlier this year. Between both films, both characters are annoying and nobody you really want to hang out with outside of, in the real world. But everything about this film just clicked well. It was a little bit more well done, and it's a fun element to it. My first one is Deadstream.
The first one I want to bring up is a film called The Cursed. It's now streaming on Hulu. This is kind of it's a play on the werewolf lore, which I think that is one of the reasons why I had to put this film in my top 5 list, because a lot of the werewolf movies that have came out as of late kind of missed the mark for me personally, being though that the werewolf is my favorite like Hollywood monster, and I like to see justice done by the story. It's not a one-trick pony, you know what I'm saying? It gives us a lot of other elements. We get the gypsy element, this whole cursed element, and then almost like you sprinkle a little bit of Van Helsing or Sherlock Holmes into it, and overall, just you put that in a big rubber band ball, throw it at the wall, and it comes right back, and it's awesome. It's well acted, well performed. The special effects are spot on. It's not a lot of CG. It takes us back to that old school style horror. Film is a home run hit for me, and I strongly suggest you watch it. It's a very, very powerful horror flick for the 2022 season.
Now, those were good monsters in that film.
So the next one for my list is going to be the film Till, and this is the film about, the tragedy of Emmett Till, the 14-year-old boy that was killed in, was it Mississippi? And
yes,
while he was visiting relatives, he was essentially lynched, beaten to death. But I will say that as rough as the subject matter is, this film blew me away just on the performance and the emotional levels that it achieved, man. Like, and I've seen a lot of stuff this year, man, but I highly recommend it for the historical element, man. I think it's really cool, though, to actually see young Emmett. We actually get someone humanized and not just that, that historical graphic photo of his death. But we see, someone that's full of life and the tragedy roll out. But the star here, I think, is the actor that plays his mom. Danielle Deadwyler did just an excellent job of playing Emmett Till's mom in this film, and I think she's going to be in the running for a Best Actress nomination, man, if the Academy is on point this year, man. But I definitely recommend it for that, and as well as the tons of support characters. It tells Emmett's story, but also his mom, and also you get a glimpse of the greater civil rights struggle that was also happening, and the support group too, man. It's not just a film about victimhood. We see the birth and the beginnings of the resistance at this time period, and I thought it was really great to include characters in it like Medgar Evers, and just seeing their organization and how they came out to support her and her family after this tragedy happened, and the attempt to get it to bring national attention to the situation. So that's definitely a great film to check out.
My next film is Clerks 3. always been a Kevin Smith fan. I was glad that he went back to where it all started from, back with Clerks, giving us an update of what's going on between Randall and Dante. This film was a lot of fun. Overall, I really love this film. Those characters, they've kind of grown and they've told a life story of Dante and Randall.
Yeah, I'm glad I actually took the time to go see it as well, man. I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't so amazed by his previous film, but Clerks 3 was definitely a great film. You know, one of my favorite movie theater trips this year.
So next in line, I got Hustle that was brought to us by Netflix. It's another Happy Madison production. And first things first, I'm a sucker for a sports film. Like in the same likeness as Uncut Gems, we get a serious Adam Sandler role where, you know, the story, in essence, it pulls us right on in. And then he just puts this thing on his back and rolls with it the rest of the way. What was really cool about this film to me, we get almost like it's like a double-headed underdog story. You know, you're following him as the scout, the player, and that's really awesome. But one of the things that really stood out to me was the amount of love that the NBA and the players in it showed this film. You know what I mean? You get all kinds of NBA talent, and one street ball talent. And because of that, not only do we get this top-notch film as far as, you know, pulling you in with a lot of emotion and it's this heartfelt story, but then you get all this basketball action. Most of the time when you get sports stories, that's what it's lacking, is whatever sport it's following, it doesn't give you that live action feel, where this did that all the way. Great soundtrack, great acting. Highly impressed by this film. I think this was a home run, not only for Netflix, but for Adam Sandler. This is the second time I've seen him play a serious role. And these are my 1A, 1B favorite Adam Sandler films between this and Uncut Gems. So yeah, I strongly suggest check Hustle out. It's a solid 2022 piece.
Him on serious roles, I'll give you two more. Rain Over Me and Punch Drunk Love.
So 2 recommendations in one day. I'm going to have to check that one out.
My next one is going to be Top Gun Maverick. And this film stands out. You know, it is the sequel to Top Gun. And for me, what this film symbolized this year was the return to big, star-fueled, Hollywood style movie productions, man. Like this thing brought the people back to the theaters like nothing else has so far this year, at least in the States, man. Like I don't think it's going to get beat, you know, for a domestic box office. But what was amazing to me is this thing came back. It's a sequel that I feel hits harder than the original. Like it surpassed that film in so many ways, but also I think it does it by leaning into some of the stuff from the original film. You know, a lot of it is, you know, whole throwbacks to the original, but I think this thing was crazy, man. Like as a film viewer and watching stuff, this is like the ultimate popcorn film, yo. It's high action, high adventure, and just enough drama to pull you in and give you the chills. It almost make you shed a tear a few times, man. I've heard people tell me they did cry when they saw this at a couple of the scenes that happened in this film, man. And it's just great, man. Overall, Top Gun Maverick was one of my favorite times in the theaters this year. I saw this thing 3 times, man. You know what I'm saying? And each time I felt the impact at the same parts every single time,
Dog,
man.
It gets real in the danger zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the danger zone was fun to visit this year, and I see why Tom Cruise pushed so hard to. This thing was supposed to come out, I think, in 2018 or 19, and you know, we finally get it this year. That's amazing, dude.
My next film is another film that was delayed because of COVID, you know, and going on lockdown, is Avatar: The Way of Water. Mm-hmm. Overall, I love this film. I was glad that after several years of coming up with the tech to make this film, James Cameron finally released it. We get reintroduced to Jake Sully with our family now. Him, you know, because him and what's her name, Natiri, yeah, have kids and pretty much going, you know, kind of exploring their lives on the planet Pandora. It's overall excellent film. I really enjoyed it. I hate that I hadn't been able to make it to the theater again, you know, see it for a second time.
Yeah, that was definitely a great surprise for me for 2022. And we've been waiting because this thing kept, delay, and it's finally here. And I will say it is worth the wait, man. Like the visual element is just like, it's just amazing, man. Like there are moments you're watching this and you're just like, I can't believe what I'm watching. Like on paper, this is some insane pothead type of story. Just imagine your friend telling you what you were going to make. And then it actually gets made, and you just like, wow, yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's something about like the effects on this. You kind of think that it's something actually real. You know what I'm saying? When you just sitting down thinking about, not all this stuff is like Hollywood, special effects, but everything. It's a realism to this, to where even me being a Star Wars fan, it's a little bit beyond Star Wars.
Yeah. So my next film was a Hulu original, and it was Prey, which was, I want to say, our 5th installment of the Predator franchise. Yeah. And the thing about this film, why this is it's a must see. This film re-injected life into a film or a franchise that was on life support almost after the last one. We always have our fans. I mean, we're all fans of the Predator and what we've gotten minus that last film. But what was left to do after that? Well, they gave us something new. They gave us, a new look at the Predator, the timeline, the setting, the story as a whole. And I mean, it works on all phases for me. You know what I'm saying? You get a beautiful landscape, this setting that we're engulfed in kind of is reminiscent of the original, where instead of the jungle, we're in, I want to say it's in the 1700s. And they're following the Native American tribe with a strong female lead. Like this film, why it's a win for me, it wasn't afraid to take chances. Yeah. And all of the chances that it took, they rolled the dice and they hit 7s. You know what I mean? The way the Predator looked, I thought that was amazing. And then it just kind of, like I said, it expands the species as a whole. And even though there was a lot of CGs going on as far as with the Predator, not just with the Predator, but with the animals and stuff, everything still looked good. It didn't take away from the film at all. The only kind of was the dialogue. You know what I'm saying? There were some things that were going on when you hear the folks talk to each other that you're like, man, it's not matching up. But all of the other pluses with this film make that easily to overlook. You know what I mean? And I feel like because this film happened, now we're going to get more Predator films.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I'm surprised it took up until Prey for them to realize the potential of this. And it's crazy because it's the perfect thing to play around with. Just the setup of, the way it has an anthology nature to it. And you don't got to worry about continuing the story. Each film can be a different story. And it's like a crazy sandbox to play in, on the intergalactic level, so there's so much you could do with this, man. It's amazing, but definitely appreciate it. Prey. So my next one is going to be Wakanda Forever, which is Black Panther Part 2. This film had a lot going against it, man. We lost at the start of the film before this thing got made, so the script had to be totally rewritten, and which was a monumental task, man, to have to do that and still deliver a story with such impact. And the thing about Black Panther, the original Black Panther, for me, I still think it's one of the most hardest hitting of the Marvel films on the emotional level. We've had films that have emotional moments, like Infinity War. Thanos throws throws his daughter off of the throws Gamora off of the, like that hits me hard. That hits hard, man. But I think Black Panther is just, as a series, has been full of those type of moments, man. And in Part 2, this Wakanda Forever was no different, man. And the decision to include Chadwick Boseman's real life death into the narrative of this film is crazy, man. Everyone wanted a new Black Panther recast, but I think for them to decide not to, and then to come out what they did in response to that, with those limitations, I think they did an excellent job, man. And this thing, it hits hard, man, on so many levels. Yeah, props to Letitia Wright playing Shuri, and she steps up to the plate, man, on a level I didn't expect it, man. You watch the first film, she's like, oh, she's the cute little sister.
Yeah.
But then to have to be the one that's, throws the weight of his loss and the leadership of the Empire like on her back, man. Shout out to Angela Bassett's Queen Ramonda, man. I expect a supporting actor nomination for this, man. Like it's full of just great moments. We also get one of the best new villains in any of these comic book films ever. Namor, man. We get him here finally. And oh my God, dude, like they killed it, man. Everything about this film, I think they nailed everything. Shout out to Tanak Huerta. I definitely think he's going to be popping up in a lot more of these Marvel films going into these next phases, man, because they introduced him in the right way, and they characterized him in a way that's a reflection of how he is in the comic books, but also shows, I think, that he's going to be a major player in upcoming events in these Marvel films, man. This is definitely really high on my list, man. Like as you can tell as I'm talking about it, man, this is definitely one of the best films of 2022, man. Wakanda Forever. What you got? What you got next?
My next film is The Fabelmans. This is basically Steven Spielberg biopic of himself, of his early childhood and everything. Overall, I love this film. Paul Dano playing the main character's father. I thought he did a real good job, but a lot of this stuff I kind of relate to. Just growing up as a kid and some of the things, like divorce and having a childhood that, it seemed like a very fun childhood, even though it's a lot of things happening in his life. And I really just appreciate Spielberg sharing this, sharing his life with us like this.
Yeah, I saw this one too last week, and it blew me away, man. Like it's a really entertaining film, man. I mean, we know Spielberg for the big spectacle, the special effects, Jaws, E.T., Minority Report kind of stuff. But then when he does direct a dramatic film like this, man, he's one of the best still. Good director is a good director, man. Period. And he kills it with this, man. I had a good time watching this. It has that real coming of age vibe to it, and he has, it shows his passion, where that passion of filmmaking developed, but also deals with real stuff, like the bullying at school,
racism,
him, the racism, the anti-Semitism, and it even the thing with his mom, catching his mom being having an emotional affair, with one of their good family friends, man. This stuff is like. Yeah, this is a really good film, man. Really, really great, man. I loved it. I loved it when I definitely took the time to check it out, man. I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah, so the next one I got going is a film called The Black Phone. It's real horror. It's very raw and rough subject matter. As we follow this guy, the grabber, who's kidnapping children and whatnot. But the reason why this film works for me and why I'm going to bring it up is because it didn't have to dive deep into the actual act of hurting the children. It focused more on the insinuation, and that was enough. That worked for this film. And Ethan Hawke, who's playing the grabber, he just was really, God, this was a creepy role. Like I say, it was focused on a real life monster, things that really exist, one of the biggest fears for any parent. But then you also get these other sub monsters, which we see how monstrous bullies can be. The father, as a matter of fact, is an abusive drunk to his children. Mm-hmm. So it opens up all these pathways, but it is shot like it looks the way that the film portrays itself on screen. It's like an episode of The Wonder Years or something. I mean, they embody this 1970s feel with the dress, the look. In this small pocket town, I mean, these kids are getting kidnapped on their way home from school, but yet the parents are still allowing them to walk home alone. You know what I mean? Like there are things that just like
they gotta go to work, man. What they gonna do? One missing kid don't stop the show.
Hey man, but yo, so and that's, on the flip side of that token, we also get this great acting from our main kid, Mason Thames plays Finney, the older brother, but the star of this show is his younger sister, Gwen, played by Madeline McGraw. She is just like, she's too cool for school. You know what I mean? Like, not just her character in this film, but the way that it's delivered, it's portrayed. She does a great job. And, everything about this film, like, as rough as it is and all of the different avenues that it takes you on, at the end of the day, I'm saying, you don't walk away from this with a sense of loss, which that worked for me, because this film, it hits so heavy on so many realistic notes that you need some kind of gratification by the time the credits roll. And I feel like this film did all of that, and it did it in a very tasteful way.
My next one and final one is going to be my complete favorite film of the entire year, and it's Everything Everywhere All at Once. And this film stars Michelle Yeoh, Ki-Hugh Kwan, Stephanie Hsu, and Jamie Lee Curtis, and James Hong. And it's just amazing. As the title says, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I think this film embodied that perfectly. There was everything you could want in a film in this one film, man. You had sci-fi, you had action adventure, you had really heavy dramatic performances, man, and everything else, man, like crazy kung fu action scenes. Like it's wild to me that you came up with a script like this and it worked. Like, you had some multiverse, time traveling, dimensional stuff, man, and to have it all work. This is another one. If I feel like if you was high and you told me this, I'm like, bro, relax, man. That's the weed talking. Stop. Like, relax. But it worked perfectly, man, and it gave one of our greatest actors ever a chance to really show the world what they can do. And I'm talking about Michelle Yeoh, and this, like, I think when we reviewed it, I said this is the type of role every actor who works wants to do. Like, this is the fact that Jackie Chan passed on this. Like, imagine what the conversation would be if he took this role, right now. And maybe you probably would have to change Ki-Hugh Kwan's character, to a woman to play off of. It would have flipped some things around. But speaking of which, this dude is away from movies for most of his life. Like I think he had a bad time after, the Anna Jones film being typecast and basically just, stepped away from Hollywood. But I think he said he was inspired by seeing Crazy Rich Asians, which also had Michelle Yeoh in it. And that inspired him to come back to acting, and he ends up in this film with her and also doing one of the best performances of the year, man. Like, I do want to see him in that best supporting actor category. Like it's crazy. I feel like in some of these award ceremonies, they might sweep, both of them 1-2 punch, pow, pow, pow. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Get it for this film, man. And this is just such a great film. I think I saw it. I saw it 2 times in the theaters. I actually bought it once it came out to digital. So, and it's one of these ones that I feel like you could watch multiple times. And because it has so much going on, you'll notice a little piece here, a little piece there. And the second time I saw it, once I understood, how because I was a little bit confused at times, on the first watching, how their dimensional jump powers work, and I was like, oh, they got to do something crazy to activate this. Like, that's why they're. And then once you know that and you see it again, it's just like, wow, it hits it, man. This is one of the ones that keeps giving you, man, So I'm definitely want to see what the directors, the Daniels, come up with next. Just want to say, man, this is like a big accomplishment for 2022, dude. Man. As crazy as things have been these last couple years, this was a bright spot in the world, I was so happy when you recommended this to me, because when I saw this, I was like, man, and the imagination in the story is just, somebody actually thought this up. Like you said, it's some high guy shit or just some off the wall, but the imagination is so great. But what really seals this movie is this emotion. It is all wrapped around so much emotional situations that it works so well. It's just, spot on. This is definitely it's a lot, man. I think you could relate to this just as being a human being. One of the big things I think themes that comes through is just, potential. We're all up there in our ages a little bit, and there are times when I think like, yo, did I do the right thing? Have I done the most I could do to get the most out of this life that I have. You know what I'm saying? And even if I didn't, should I still be happy with where I'm at right now? And these are themes that come along, man, as well as the mother-daughter, their relationship. And like, it's man, this thing is deep, dude. Yeah. This is one of the ones, like I said, it's going to keep rewarding you the more you watch it. A lot of films I see lately, even though I think they are good, when it's time to throw in a movie, I'm rushing to like, man, I'd rather watch something new than rewatch this again. But this one, I can go back and just go back into that well, because there's corners of this that you're going to find just from rewatching. You'll be like, all right, you know, I understand this part, but yo, this low-key thing that I just glanced over the first time, oh, you know what I'm saying? It hits, man. This is one of them ones, dude.
My last film is Tar. I reviewed this on our last episode, but it's pretty much the rise and fall of Lydia Tar. In the film, she's the first female major composer in a German orchestra. It pretty much goes over some of the things that kind of corrupts her as a character. It might be like a sexual type relationship she had with some of her subordinates, things like that. And overall, she's not a real nice person. It's just an interesting type, I guess, character study on a composer. It's told like a biopic, but this is a totally fictional story. I really love this film. And when I found out Todd Field was making another film, I was like, been waiting the majority of this year until I was able to see it, and I really enjoyed this film.
Yeah, that was definitely on my list, man. I got to check that out. It's probably one of the last few that's remaining on my 2022 list.
So my last film, close to one of my number one films of this year, is Jordan Peele's Nope. For starters, I love the concept. This is an original approach to an extraterrestrial film, and we haven't gotten one of those in a while. So, for starters, we get that. And, the fact that this movie is told with so seriously, but it has a comical undertone that really, really works for the film as well. But what I really like about it is that not only do we get this main story of our main characters played by Daniel Kaluuya and you get Keke Palmer, who both knock it out the park, but we get a really cool sub story as well. A sub story that's so intriguing that they could have made a movie about that in itself, and it probably would have impacted me the same way as being just a sub story in this film. And I mean, just standout performances, is so visually appealing. And even though this film was a little longer, it was all justifiable. You know what I'm saying? That there's no dull moments. You get a consistent flow of just story just hitting you, and the way that it's told and delivered to us, it works. Everything about this film works for me and on every level. This is another home run for Peele in my book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it too, man. It's definitely one of my favorite watches. I went multiple times, in the theaters to check it out. And the thing that I think blows me away the most about it is just how good of a filmmaker Jordan Peele is, man. Like, his vision is crazy. And this is probably, in my opinion, I think this was his best out of the 3 films he's done so far, man. Like, I think I love this more than anything. And it just shows that, his ability to just find those human connections in his narratives, as well as leaning into the genre and trying to remix the genre. Because, like you said, this was, your classic extraterrestrial film, maybe some Close Encounters of the Third Kind type of stuff, but he flips it and remixes it and adds his own unique touch to it so much that it becomes, something we haven't seen before, and it's done well, man. Like, and it's like, I feel like other scenes would have probably, in particular, Daniel Kaluuya's character, man, like some people probably would have just overwritten him and did all this extra stuff or gave him extra dialogue, but he's fine being who he is. He's just a regular guy that doesn't have a lot of words. And he's subdued. Yeah, and he just allows him to be there with his physical performance mostly and say some words here and there. And then we add the other characters. It's like, all right, if he's going to be this guy, we're not going to penalize him for it. We're going to add someone here who's a sister who is the more vocal, who is wouldn't be the one that could interact with the people and the public the most and give the watchers something more than just Kaluuya's stoic presence. But it works, man. And this guy's really good, man. I don't know what he's gonna do next. I'm curious. Like, let's go.
And not for nothing, real quick, just to your point, the same feeling that you got about Everything Everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
This does the same for me. Every time I watch this film, I notice something new. There's rare occasions when I enjoy a film more the third, fourth, fifth viewing than I did the first, but this one does it for me.
That's it, man. That's our top 15 for 2022. And as a bonus episode, look for our top honorable mentions of 2022. So everything else that didn't make this list, I mean, surprisingly, they were few and far between, but we did have some good stuff come out for this year, man. And yeah, man, and shout out to y'all listeners, man. Thanks for supporting us, throughout this past year. And we're going to be back. We're going to come out swinging, once again with more news, trailers, and reviews, man. You can check us out at FTC Net on Instagram, at From Canopy on Twitter. You can catch me at Monkey Blood on Twitter and Instagram.
You can find me on Facebook, Cornelius Bros, on Instagram, on Twitter at Cornelius1976, and on TikTok at Cornelius1976, where I'll be watching videos.
And it's Bobby Blockbuster. You can catch me on Instagram at Bobby Blockbuster 1810.
Yeah, folks, we out of here.